Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to discuss a problem contains duplicate. So friends, before we start, in case if you are new to my channel, then please subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon so that you never miss any update. So here in this problem we are given an integer array and our task is to return true if any value appears at least twice, or return false if every element is distinct. So let's understand the problem with an example. Now let's suppose we are given with this integer array having elements as 1, 2, 3, 1. Now our task is to return true if any value appears at least twice. So here you can see that 1 appears at 2 places, therefore we return true. And return false if every element is distinct. So here you can see in the second example the array is 1, 2, 3, 4. So all the elements are distinct, therefore we have to return false. So here our task is to check whether the array contains duplicates or not. Now let's move ahead and see how we can solve this problem via various techniques. So let's suppose we are given with this array 7, 3, 1, 4, 1 and we know that 1 appears at least twice, therefore we know that it contains duplicates. So the first way to solve this problem is a very brute force approach where we take each element and compare it with the rest of the elements in the array and we figure out whether the element is duplicate or not. So when we try to solve this problem, we take a pointer I and let's say the value is 7. We take another pointer j and we compare the values at I and jth index. So at the start 7 is compared with 3. They are not equal. So j moves to the second index. 7 is not equal to 1. So j moves to third index. 7 is not equal to 4. So j moves to the fourth index. 7 is not equal to 1. So therefore we figure out that 7 is unique among these elements. So after that I moves to 3 and j points to index after I, because 7 is already being compared with 3 in the previous iteration. So 3 is compared with 1, they are not equal. So j moves to third index. 3 is compared with 4, they are not equal. So j moves to the fourth index. 3 is not equal to 1. So therefore we come to know that 3 is also unique in this array. So we increment I. Now I comes to the second index. So j starts from the third index. 1 is compared with 4. So they are not equal. So j moves to the fourth index. Now here 1 is equal to 1. So therefore we come to know that there are duplicates in this array and 1 is appearing at least twice. So therefore we return directly true from the method. So if we see via this approach, we need two for loops. One for I and one for j. So using these two for loops, we can figure out whether the array contains duplicates or not. So the time complexity of this method is O of n square, because this approach contains nested loops. So this is not very efficient solution. Now can we reduce the time complexity from O of n square to less than that? So one thing we can do is, we can actually sort this array. So when we sort this array in ascending order, the elements will rearrange something like this: 1, 1, 3, 4 and 7. And now after sorting, we can use one for loop to check whether the neighboring elements are equal or not. So if they are equal, we just return true, and after the loop ends, if we didn't find any duplicates, then we can return false. So via this approach, when we are sorting the array, the time complexity comes out to be n log n. So this is a better approach and time complexity. Now is there any other way where we can reduce this time complexity? So we'll look into that. So in order to reduce the time complexity, what we can do is we can use an additional data structure. So let's say if we are using a hash set, the property of hash set is it only contains unique elements. Now what we can do is we can iterate over this array. We can take one element and we check whether the hash set contains that element or not. If it doesn't contain, then we simply add it to the hash set. And if hash set contains that value, then we are sure that it contains duplicates. So for example, the first value is 7. We check whether hash set contains 7 or not. So it doesn't contain, so we put 7 into the hash set. Then we check for 3, whether the hash set contains 3 or not. So it doesn't contain, so we put 3 into the hash set. Then we take 1. So 1 is not in the hash set, so we put 1 into the hash set. Then we take 4. 4 is not in the hash set, so we put 4 into the hash set. At last we get 1. So when we check whether 1 is there in the hash set or not, we come to know that 1 is already there. So therefore we directly return true, that we have found a duplicate. Now let's say instead of 1 there would have been 6. So we would have checked whether 6 is there in the hash set or not. So it was not there, so we put 6 into the hash set, and after that there are no elements in this array to be traversed. So at the end we would directly return false, that there are no duplicate elements in this array. Now by doing this, the time complexity is we are iterating this array once. So time complexity becomes O of n, but space complexity increases because we are using an additional data structure. So the space complexity is O of n, but this is a much better approach because the time complexity is reduced. Now let's move ahead and see the animation of this algorithm step by step. So this is the code where the method name is contains duplicate. We pass in the array. So at first, when we call contains duplicate method, we pass in the array. Now let's say if we are given with this array having values as 1, 3, 5, 4, 1. So at the first step what we do is we create a hash set. So this is our set. Now as we discussed, we just iterate each and every value once. So we provide a for loop where I starts from 0 index like this and I goes till nums.length. So here the array contains 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So nums.length is 5. So it goes from 0 index to 4th index. So currently 0 is less than 5. So this for loop executes. Now hash set has a method contains. When we call this method, it actually returns true or false. If the element is present in the hash set, returns true, and if the element is not present, it returns false. So nums of I is nothing but the value at 0th index. So we check whether set contains 1 or not. So here you can see set doesn't contain 1. So set.contains will return false because this element is not present. So we add this element into the set. So 1 is added into the set. Now we increment I, so I becomes 1. 1 is less than 5. We check whether value 3 is present in the set or not. So set.contains return false because 3 is not present. So we simply add 3 into the set. We increment I, so I becomes 2 and 2 is less than 5. So this for loop will execute. Now nums of I is nothing but value present at 2nd index, which is 5. So we check whether set contains 5 or not. So set doesn't have 5, so it returns false. So we simply add 5 into the set like this. We increment I becomes 3. 3 is less than 5. So this for loop will execute. We check whether value at 3rd index, which is 4, present in the set or not. So this actually returns false because 4 is not present into this set. So we simply add 4 into the set. will increment I becomes 4, 4 is less than 5. So this for loop executes. Now here value at ith index is 1, and when we check whether 1 is present in the set or not, so 1 is already present in the set. So set.contains return true. So it means we have found a duplicate in this array because 1 we inserted into the set at the beginning and again we found a 1. So set.contains return true because 1 is already present in the set. So it means that our array contains a duplicate. So this if block is executed. So here we directly return true, which states that our array contains the duplicate. Now let's say if our array doesn't contains the duplicates. So instead of 1, we put a 6. So after placing 1, 3, 5, 4 into the set, the last element would have been 6. And if we do set.contains 6, so it returns false and if block doesn't get executed. So we simply add 6 into the set. Now when we increment I becomes 5. And 5 is not less than 5. So therefore this for loop will terminate. So at the end we directly return false, stating that our array doesn't contain duplicate. It contains unique elements. So friends, in this video we discussed the problem of contains duplicate. I hope you must have liked this video. Thanks, have a nice day.